We are here on October 14th, and you'll notice that next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, our school is actually closed. I was told if you wanted to come on campus and use our lab, you can, but you'd have to go to the office and ask the ladies to open up because it won't be open unless that request is here. And then you can stick around till maybe 7:30 at night, something like that. But let me know if you're coming because they would like a list of anybody that there would be a possibility. So you do have off, so that means that we don't have our class on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, okay? But we will have class on Thursday. That's the day that we officially like come back and school is back in session. So we will have our normal virtual lecture that day and our open lab. That'll be the last day for you to ask questions about Chapter 9, and we may just start our next learning plan after that. We'll kind of see how that goes. I don't want to give up a whole hour and a half. But the tutorials that we've been working through the last couple days here are going to be due on Friday, the 22nd at 11:59, end of the day, all right? And so submitting those, going through the whole thing, taking your screenshots, expanding the model tree so I can kind of see that you did everything in there, and then uploading the PDF of those screenshots so that I can, take a peek at them and make sure they all look good. So so that is what we have kind of coming up here in the next couple of visits that we have. And then we'll continue on after Chapter 9. So I want to do those last couple demos for you so that it rounds out that Chapter 9 tutorial homework. So what I've already done is I have opened up and set my working directory in Creo, okay? So you wanna always do that first, okay? Even though we're starting a new assembly, we're gonna be pulling stuff in, we still have to set that working directory. It's just like when you start a new part, okay? We're starting a new assembly. So I set my working directory up, and now I'm going to start a new assembly. So I'm gonna click on assembly, make sure design is here, and I'm gonna call this the take up. Now this is a sub-assembly. Take up assembly. We'll see if I called it that. Nope, it's a new one. I've been working on these and making sure that I'm smooth with it. So sometimes I give it different names. All right, so you will notice here that we start kind of in that normal mode, but in the model tree, in the model ribbon, if you would, we're going to have this button here. It's called the assemble button. So we want to pull parts in now to create this assembly. So the first part that we're going to pull in, we always want to pull in kind of that base feature, if you would, and this is going to be the TU250, that part right there. And because it's the first part, all we need to do in here, there's nothing to constrain it to, so we need to fix it. It's going to be just like, okay, it's in here officially, so we're going to change this from automatic to fixed, okay? And then we're just going to hit the green X, or you can middle mouse button out of there, and we have our part, okay? Now, the next thing that I want to do is we are going to be dealing with adding, oh, actually, I want the assembly, don't I? I don't want this part. Let me start over. Okay, I'm going to X out and start a fresh one. I'm so sorry. I picked the wrong one here. It's not a part. We want the sub-assembly. So let me go back into Creo again. I do like starting fresh. I know you can go through it and you can like delete the old versions and all that kind of stuff, or the unsaved or the saved stuff, but I like starting fresh because then I know exactly where I'm at. I'm a little leery once in a while of things because they sometimes don't work as nicely than if it's a fresh start of the session. Creo 1, so my working directory is started. So let's start over. I'm going to pull in the sub-assembly for the take-up. So here's my assembly. Take up piece. Assembly. Okay, I know I didn't call it that. All right, so the first one that I am going to, okay, the first one I'm going to be pulling in is that part, TU250. Actually, I am okay on that. I was okay. I'm so sorry. I'm thinking ahead because we're actually gonna use the sub-assembly then in the complete assembly. So I'm thinking ahead. So we're gonna fix this just like we were planning on, and we're gonna say okay. I do like to change the color because I think gray is kind of boring. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to change my appearance and I'm going to make it, I kind of like that, this version of the yellow, not the real bright yellow, but kind of this buttery, more dull color for the yellow. So I'm going to leave that there. And then I am going to pull in my next part, which is the grease fitting. Okay, so I'm going to pull out and I'm going to find my grease fitting. It's called grease fitting. There we go. Open. And what I want to do is I want to kind of get it close-ish to where I believe it's going to go. So right now I'm just translating this based on my arrows. So I'm going to kind of go above, okay? Now, do you have to be perfectly placed? No. And all that this does is, if we have it way kind of out of whack, sometimes it can make assumptions that we weren't intending. You know, even if we pick the very same things, but if we're closer for sometimes it works better. So it gets a better idea. Oops, yeah, placement here and here. And I want these guys to be in line. I want them to be coincident. Awesome. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to put this grease fitting in place. I'm going to do a new constraint. And I'm going to click on the top, like, domed area here. And I'm going to, I have to zoom back out. Now, the nice thing is I can stay in the command and do this. And I'm going to go this underneath. And I want this surface right here. And those two surfaces, it's already kind of making an assumption. I want those to be tangent. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. I think they do, they might do coincident for it. But I found that tangent is the one that works really well. And it's just sitting right here on top. Just putting the grease fitting in place. So now I'm, I think, I thought I was. It says that I'm partially constrained. I've got coincident. I've got tangent. I'll maybe do an axis, I guess, in this C. So this axis, do axis. Still not. I don't know why. Now I know it lets me put it there, but I don't like that it's not fully constrained. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back out and I'm going to do it again. I'm not sure why it did that. So I can just delete it out. Yes, I want to delete it out. And just going to make sure I didn't miss. I'm going to pick the fronts. Grease fitting. It has the coincident. And it has the hexagon. Yeah, I don't, and it's a tangent. Yeah. Oh, they also want a parallelism in there. Okay, all right, that's why. So there is a third. So we will do it one more time, sorry. So grease fitting, kind of weird because it seemed like it was perfectly in place. So we're gonna go like, whoopsie, go like that. Where was that? That's up here, here, okay, overish. All right, let's do the placement now. And we are going to do user define. We're going to do a coincident on the outside, inside. New constraint. We're going to do the bottom surface here, if I can get it. Yep, that surface and this surface are going to be tangent. And a new constraint of, I want this front face to be parallel, right? Parallel to this face right here. Okay, now we're fully defined. Now it likes it. Okay, now I can hit OK, and I'm in a good spot. So I'm going to do my grease fitting. I'm going to change my appearance. Let's make it red. Okay. All right, so my grease fitting is in place. Good time to probably save, okay, just because, because we added a part in there and it's all constrained and I'm good to go. All right, now I'm going to add in my bearing, okay, my bearing assembly. The bearing that we did yesterday, the full bearing, I'm going to be pulling in and we're going to be putting it inside right here, okay. Now I just need to make sure, I just want to check my constraints. We have coincident of the outer race and the inside surface, and then we're going to have a distance. Coincident. Okay, all right, I think I'm good. So I'm going to go into the bearing assembly. All right, and the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of bring it forward. I'm going to go over here. Now, let me look here on which side is that cutout? On that front side. Okay, we're good. So we're going to be putting our outside diameter. We're going to do the placement. We're going to place it at this outside diameter on diameter here. Okay, so those are in line with one another. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do the outer race surface and the front surface of that machined area. And we want that to be a distance of 0.1. So the outer race distance from here, right here, that surface, and this is going to be a distance to this surface right here, okay, is going to be 0.1. All right, now it's actually on the outside. We want it to be shifted in. So what I'm going to do is it's actually putting it to the outside here. I want this to be a negative 0.1 so that it's into the material. And oopsie, negative 0.1, because all that does is it really depends on which one you actually call first or second. And so depending on which one, and I think I picked the bearing first, it created the gap then to the surface. I think if I would have called the surface first and then the other, I believe it would have done it in this order. So if you find that the position isn't quite where you want it, just add a negative, and that will kind of straighten things out for you. So this is where we want it to be. Yeah, this looks good. This looks good. Now, I am fully constrained. I can continue to add constraints here. And what they are adding is they are adding the planes for each one of those. So the datum planes display is going to be on, or wait, right datum plane, yeah. So let me go out here. Before I go out, I want to go to only my datum planes I want displayed, okay? Only datum planes displayed right now. So not all the axes, stuff like that, okay? So what it wants us to do is it wants us to pick the right datum plane for the outer race, the right datum plane for the outer race. Now, let me go back in here to the ball bearing. We're going to edit definition. It should come back up. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit this little guy over here, and it gets the ball bearing like out of that assembly so we can more easily get what we need. Now, I wish this was a little bit bigger, but how big I can get. So I've got to kind of try to find, and I'll turn off all those other, oh, it is only on there, shoots, all the other planes that are in there. So outer race, I need the right datum plane. You know, I am not going to do it right. Not doing it. Is it here? It's not letting me. Is this plan? It'll be the roads. Maybe I can do it this way. This way. So if I do placement and I add a new constraint and I am going to do the right datum plane. Okay, cool. I got that. And if I do select an assembly item and I go back to the inner race, outer race, and I go back over here to this guy, and I find the right plane there, angle offset is fine. So I can just hit. I think we're okay. Now I'm fully defined. Okay. And I was fully defined before, so we added that extra constraint. So this is fine. Now, the thing that they want us to do, and I'm going to get rid of the planes then so that we can see this a little bit more clearly. And it got to be a lot of planes because all of the parts have their planes identified. I'm going to do this dragging of the components so that I can make sure that my bearing is still okay. So I'm going to select one item, select the ball bearing, and you'll notice, I can't really see it. Maybe if I do the outer race, I'm going to close this, drag item, select one. I want that inner race. Oh, it's not letting me do it now. I don't know. Oh, that's all right. Drag, and I want to do it this way. I can't. And I don't know why. Ball bearing, drag, select. Oh, there it is. Yep, now we can see it. It's actually rotating around. Okay. I think it was just the order I was doing it in. Okay. All right, so my bearing is in place and my grease fitting is on there. So I'm going to do a save and we should be all set. Okay, I'll regenerate. It likes to regenerate and then I'll do a file save. So if you get that error, you just do this regenerate key right up here and then it just do your save and you're all set. Okay, so I have my assembly created and I called this one the take up piece underscore assembly active. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to X out. Again, I'm going to start a fresh session, go right back in, and then we're going to assemble the full complete take up frame and everything in it that we've been looking at, in addition to a couple other elements. So first things first, I got to set my working directory. I know that's on my H colon, Creo. I'm still calling it Creo 1. Okay. Now I'm going to start a new assembly. And this is going to be the complete take up assembly. All right, and now I'm going to pull in, my frame is going to be the start, and it's going to be the frame assembly is what I'm going to do. So my take up frame assembly, open, there it is, okay. And I'm just going to fix that because right now this guy doesn't have anything to constrain to except just to be there. So we are going to select that. We're going to change its appearance. I just like the yellow. I don't know why, it's always my first one. Okay, so that's our first one that we got in. Now, on the bottom of page 327, we're going to have a couple other things that we're going to add. We're going to add the threaded rod, a square nut, a hex nut, and a roll pin, okay, and a roll pin. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and we're going to drag in, I believe the threaded rod is next. Oh, the square nut we're going to do first, the square nut. Now, order, yeah, it does matter. As a rule of thumb, you want to actually assemble something in terms of the order that it would actually be assembled in. So I'm going to pull up this square nut. And what we're going to do is we're going to, again, get it as close to its orientation kind of as possible, but not necessarily like right on top of it, just so that it can get the best chance of getting in where it needs to be. And again, even if you do it the same way, sometimes when you have things that aren't are really off, then it makes some assumptions that you may not have control over. So I want to align the axis here to the axis here of our square nut. So placement here is going to be coincident, and it's going to be from this axis to, and I just got to maybe have to turn a little bit to see that axis in there. Right here, there, okay. So it's coincident, okay. Now it isn't fully defined yet because now I've got to place it on this back surface right here. So I'm going to do one more new constraint. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to say this surface to this surface, and those are going to be coincident, okay, because it's going to go right up flush up on top of there, okay. So it's in place. I'm fully defined or fully constrained, okay. I'm going to leave this one gray because to me a nut isn't that big of a deal, okay? So my next element is going to be my threaded rod, okay? So I'm going to do another piece. You could save in between here if you want. And I'm going to get to my threaded rod, open. And again, I want to get it kind of pulled away here. Oh, oops, I grabbed that one. It doesn't really matter. Maybe, maybe not. Oh. Pull up, and I want to kind of rotate around here. Yeah, I'm so not in my right spot here. This-ish. Forward, go back, and then I'm going to rotate it like this. Okay, and I'm going to pull it back one more time, just because I don't necessarily want it inside there just yet. So I do want it to be along that same axis, so we're going to make those two coincident to start off with. So placement is going to be coincident, and I want the axis here to the axis right there, okay? So it should have put them, yep, in line with one another. So if I kind of look here, yep, they're in line with one another. And then now I'm going to set a distance. I'm going to do a distance from. So I just got to find what that distance is supposed to be. Distance is 1.5. Okay, sorry. Just trying to find where that would be. So the next one is going to be a distance, new constraint, and it's going to be from this endpoint right here, the end of my threaded rod, to the surface, I think right here. Yeah, the square, not surface. And I want this to be 1.5. Yep, that looks good. Okay. And I can hit, I think we can hit okay. Uncheck allow assumptions. I'm going to do a new constraint. And new constraint placement on the datum planes if they are off. And then I'm going to pick the front plane for the threaded rod. Right front is going to be one. Front here, there we go. Front for the threaded rod. And front for the datum plane on the square nut. Boy, So hard. Right. Front, and then holder. Then, let's see. I should be able to uncheck. Degrees. There we go. Angle offset, and then we just want the hole to be so that we can see it. So if I look here, it was actually going in this direction. We wanted it to be horizontal so that we can see it in this orientation. So now that I have the threaded rod in, I'm going to change it to a new color so we can see that difference. Okay. All right. I need to highlight some of these things because I'm noticing that when I'm looking for these distances, they're kind of blending in. So let's do our hex nut, and we're going to put that on the either end. So hex nut, there we go, hex nut. Pull that in, and we're going to put it on this end and on this end, okay? And to do that, see here. We are going to make, first of all, there's a through hole on our hex nut that needs to line up with the hole right here, okay? The hole right there. So we need to orient this so it's going to go like this. Then we're going to move this up and over. Okay, and I'm going to move it out a little bit so we're not on top of our thing. Okay. And again, I kind of move it as close as possible. Then what I'm going to do is we are going to do an axis first. So let's get rid of the planes, just show the axes, so that now what we can do is we can placement, coincident, and I want my axis here and this axis here to be in line. New, I'm going to do the inside surface here with the inside, it's outside, no. That surface. Invalid. Okay, let me do a cancel. Yes. Let me pull it back in. I don't know why it didn't let me do that, but what we will do is let's not here. Push it over, pull it out, rotate it around. Up there. I'll line this up. Okay. Placement. What's it? I'm going to take this axis and line them up. Right. New constraint. I'm going to put outside coincident. We're going to put inside. Outside diameter here. How come it didn't flip it? Constraints are invalid. Why is it saying this? Take the wrong center line. And cancel it one more time. Go assembly. X nut. I'm sorry about this, guys. I just trying my best here. Over here first. Pull it out. It's oriented so it's about in the right spot. Get this up on top. So now what I want to do is move this a little bit closer. want to make sure I'm grabbing the correct axes. So user defined, go to coincidence. So I want to do this axis, and I want to do that axis. There. They're in line with one another. Now what I'm going to do is I want this hole and that hole to line up. Okay, that hole and that hole to line up. We're going to have to do a new constraint. We're going to do this axis and that axis lined up. There we go. Okay. Now it's on there and I'm fully constrained. Yep. So that's where I want to be. That's where I want to be. So let me kind of go in here and we're going to do that hex nut and we're going to change its appearance. We will make it, I don't know, any more fun colors? I don't want to go crazy, so we'll just do blue. Okay. Now I want to do the same thing on the other end. So hopefully it doesn't take me that long for the second one. So another hex nut. We're going to run it in this location. We're going to scooch it down over here, pull it in over here, zoom in a little bit. Okay. And we're going to do that very same thing. So placement is going to be coincident. We're going to do the axis going through here and this axis right there. And then we're going to do another coincident. We're going to add a constraint. We're going to use the center line going vertically and the, oopsie, zoom out, not move, and the center line here. And those are going to be coincident. There we go, and it's on. Okay, cool, 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 cool. And we're going to say, okay, that looks good. And we're going to make that one blue as well. All right, so we've got these guys in here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go to adding our take up piece in here, or take up piece in here, okay? So we're going to assemble the take up piece assembly. It was what we just created. So take up piece assembly. This is the one I created. Okay. So this is the one that I have, and we are going to put it in position. Oopsie. With the flat section up, the machine section up. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go over here, raise it up a little bit. Okay. We're going to scooch in. All right. So first and foremost, we need this axis and the axis of that center line right there to be the same. Okay, to be the same. So we are going to say, okay, placement, coincident, this axis and that axis. Okay, so they're in line with one another. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to go on the other underside here. And we need this to be parallel to that top surface, okay? So whether we pick this one and that surface or this one and that surface, right now they're kind of turned on each other. So you'll notice here what we can do is we're going to do a parallel, we're going to add a constraint before we do that, then we're going to do a parallel, and we're going to go, this surface underneath here needs to be parallel to this surface. And now notice it's straightened everything out for us, okay? Because it's going to ride on there, all right? Which is going to kind of guide it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a distance. We're going to say from this surface here, we're going to add a new constraint. We're going to do a distance. And we're going to say, okay, from that surface right there to this surface right here on that side of the nut, I need 0.03. Okay, now I got to look. I should be able to see an actual gap. If I don't, that needs to be a negative 0.03. There we go. Okay, so now if I go in here and I look, there should be a little bit of a gap. Am I seeing it? Where's my gap? Negative 0.03. Now it's there. Now it's there. So I can see my little red threaded rod in there. Okay, that's the importance of kind of colors sometimes. So the negative needed to be in there. So if you notice that their gap isn't appearing, just switch it to a negative and see if that works, and it should. Okay. All right, because it just depends on where it's measuring its initial from. So I think I'm fully constrained. I'm good. Okay, so that is in there. Now I'm going to go in here. I'm going to change that color. Let's see what we want to give that. We will give that kind of I don't know if I like that one because it's too close to the other. Maybe we'll do, select it first, do this. Select it and do this. Oh, that's transparent. So I'm going to select it. We'll go back over here. Oh man, maybe we'll just do it. Oh, that looks kind of good. Whatever. Okay, so there it is. There it is. So I would do a save here. I'm gonna do a regeneration really quickly, and I'm gonna save. Now again, regeneration, they just want you to do sometime on assemblies when you get a bunch of parts in there. So here that is, right? Now, what do I have left? Am I done? I might be done. I think I'm done. I think I am done. The only thing I didn't put in was my roll pin, all right? I do need to put my roll pins into the ends, like they go right into these holes right here, this hole and that hole. Why isn't that one lined up? Oh, that's weird. I lined those guys up. So if I go back to my first hex nut and I do a edit definition on that, I go to placement and oops. It should be 90. Is that what I put in there? No, so maybe it's 180. Wait, no, it would be, let's say 270. No. No. Now I think I'm like not remembering where I'm supposed to be. Here it is. Oh, and then there, 0. Okay. All right. So that's good. That's good. I'm going to hit OK because I have to have that open there. I don't know how that got changed, but it did. So I do need to pull in that roll pin yet. So where's my roll pin here? Okay. And it's going to go in this hole. So I'm going to go this way, right? This way. I'm going to grab it over here, kind of translate it. It out over here, and I'm going to be able to see the axis of that center hole, so we can line up the axis here. So placement is going to be coincident. Let's see. Okay, just the data back here. Okay. So on here, where is my center? Don't have a center, so I'm going to use outside surface to this outside surface. There we go. And then as far as depth there, it's just going to be flush, okay? It's going to be flush. So I'm going to add a constraint, and we'll do a coincident, this very top here with this. That's going to push it down in there. It might stick out the bottom a little bit, but it doesn't look like it's going to. Then I'm going to do that very same thing on the other end. I'm not going to spend time there right now. So my assembly, once I add my second pin here, will be complete. Okay, so that would be the final tutorial. Now, when you hand this in, remember, you're going to be doing a snapshot around the outside here. Make sure that you expand out as much as you can the model tree. Let's see here. I'm not so worried about the nuts. I want to see that the nuts are in there. Yeah, I think you can just make sure that we see all of this. So when you do your Windows Shift S, what you want to do is you want to grab so that we can see, actually, I'm going to try it again. Windows Shift S, I want to go a little bit higher so I can get my name in there. I'm not going to be far enough over, but I think I'm okay. I want to get the name of what I called it, and I want to get my model tree in here as well. So make sure that you include that in your snapshot. So now that you have that, then you open up a document, whether it's Word or Google Docs, and then you're going to import this in there. Just go Control, and it's going to be copy. Control V is going to paste it in. You can make it larger or smaller on that page, and then you're going to export that as a PDF, okay? And then upload that PDF with all of the screenshots of each one of the, I think it's 5 or 6, I think it's 6 screenshots of the tutorials that you're doing. Okay. Sorry, it went a little rough, and I'm gonna start highlighting in my book so that those important distances like kind of jump off the page as opposed to blending in, because I was having a little trouble here getting to which constraints and what distances I was supposed to do. So, all right. That's all that I have for today. Any questions before I let you go? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and I guess we're all set for the day. Have a great rest of the day and weekend. Let me know if you need me.